Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So I'm taking a look today at the unofficial October numbers, and year over year, they are crazy. I mean, the month overall wasn't nearly as busy as the months leading up to October, but year over year, it's a staggering jump. So let's take a look. In October of 2019, we sold 88 units. And in October of 2020, we sold 113 units. So that's up 28%. It's not nearly the jump we saw in September, but that's still a pretty significant increase year over year. The very interesting stat is the average price. So in 2019, our average price was $738,512. We are up 28% in pricing. So our average price for October of 2020 was $952,412. That's pretty on par with what we saw in September, but that is a huge jump. I mean, through October, I talked about how busy our million plus price point was, which for sure is going to drive up our average price. But to kind of see it go from 738 to 952 is pretty crazy, I think. So that is just a huge jump. So November, again, is going to be really interesting to watch. For August, September, and October now, we've been hovering around that 950 as an average price, which is one of the highest prices in the GTA. Our high price points are still super active, so I imagine that number will not dramatically change for November. So now let's look at the weekly numbers. And I do think overall we are starting to feel a slowdown. Our numbers are just nowhere near where they were. So in Georgetown last week, we only had 12 properties sell, which isn't a huge number. It's fine for a regular time, but it definitely is down. The interesting thing, of those 12, 8 of them sold over asking and 2 of them at asking. So only 2 properties sold under list price last week. So still a super strong market. We only had 14 new properties enter the market, so we are not seeing a huge jump in inventory. In Acton this week, we had 4 properties sell, which is a good number for there, but we only had 1 new property enter the market, so inventory should continue to be a problem there. Glen Williams had no sales and 1 new listing. Limehouse had 1 sale and no new listings. And the rural market saw 1 property sell, which is kind of low for rural, but only 1 new property enter the market there. So now let's take a look at active inventory. So we are not quite at the lowest number we've seen, but we're getting pretty close. We are at 94 active listings. The lowest we've seen this year was 90, so we are getting pretty scarce on inventory. We have 9 in the sold conditional status, so only 85 properties technically available. Georgetown inventory remained the same this week at 52 active listings. When we break it down by our price points, our under 700 is up slightly to 9 active listings. 7 to 800 is up to 4, but again, that always dips, so I'm not holding my breath on that inventory level. So 800 to $1 million is sitting at 13 active listings. It kind of goes between 10 and 15, so that's a normal range for there. It's still super low. And again, our super busy price point is that million plus. We are down to 26 active listings this week. So that price point, even though we see new listings come up, they are selling so quickly. So we are back down this week to only 26 active listings. That number sounds high, and there are a lot of like unique properties that are, higher tickets, but realistically, I just don't think there is enough supply for the demand in that price point right now. In Acton, we have our lowest number of the year in terms of active listings. We are down to 8 active listings. So there is like nothing available in Acton. Glen Williams is up to 6 active listings, which is quite a high number for Glen Williams. Limehouse is down slightly to 5 active listings, but still a pretty high number for there. And rural is staying steady at 23 active listings, which is not a super high number for there, but not low either. So October was pretty crazy when you look at it year over year. But when we are looking at the number of units transacting, we were over 130 units in August and over 120 units in September. So looking at 113 for October, our units are coming down. So I think we are feeling a bit of a slowdown, but our average price is still holding steady at around $950. So again, those numbers are a staggering jump versus 2019. Our weekly numbers are down, and I do think like naturally in November, we start to feel a bit of a slowdown, but there's still a ton of buyers out there. But I think an issue we're going to run into is people kind of stop listing their houses unless they have to. People don't really list their house in November and December. So with the active buyers still there and inventory not coming on as readily, we could be getting into a very low inventory situation for the month of November. So I love looking at these numbers month to month. It's really interesting, and we are seeing a trend. I think November is going to continue to beat our year over year versus 2019, because again, 2019 was a super slow fall for us. So come back next week to see how we do for the first week of November, and that will likely continue to trend on the slowdown mode, but I still think we are in a super strong market, and if you have a house to sell, it is still a good time to be thinking about putting it on. So have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next Tuesday.